Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. I'm T-Cash Videos, and today we're talking about the history of Auto Club Speedway. This is part one of many parts, and let's just get into it. So starting off with the development of Auto Club Speedway, it started off as California Speedway. Built nearby to where Riverside and Ontario Motor Speedway used to be. It was built on a former steel mill. Actually, there was a remnant of the steel mill after the speedway was built. They used to have a water tower that used to be part of the steel mill. Development started in 1995 and it was finished late 1996. It was also built by Roger Penske, who also built Michigan. Auto Club is also very similar to Michigan. And the reason why I want to do this is because people have long claimed on Twitter that Auto Club has been a very boring track till like the last 2 years. And I think they only remember specific races, especially this Gen 4 period that this video is going to be about. Actually, almost every race was great. It is the old style of racing where it's fuel mileage, it's just naturally building itself up till the last couple of races in the Gen 4 period. We'll get to that in a little bit. And people also forget the average races. I mean, it's just old style racing at that point. But let's just get into it with the 1990. Alright, so the first race at Auto Club is the 1997 California 500 presented by Napa. It is the 15th race after Michigan International Speedway. Again, the track that Roger Penske also built. Jeff Gordon led the points entering the weekend. And actually, there's a couple did not qualify. The first one's going to be Kenny Wallace in the Square D car. Mike Wallace in the Spam car. It's been a very long time since we've heard about Spam. Billy Sandridge in the Diamond Rio and Haynes car. And Riley Gordon also qualified, but he was actually replaced by Craig Sachs for the race. So, this race had a lot of hype entering into it. It was the first race in SoCal after 1988 at Riverside. 85,000 people attended the race, and temperatures were approaching about 91, 92 degrees, with wind speeds up to 12 miles an hour. It's pretty hot. And ABC presented the race on television with MRN on radio. Again, MRN still did radio to this day, to the last race in 2023. And Earnhardt Sr. was in his longest winning streak at the time. Jeff Gordon was also winning up to 25% of races at the point, so, it's where Jeff Gordon's career really took off. It's where Earnhardt Sr.'s kind of fallen off. I mean, it was kind of a big turning point in the time. So, they said the first race at California Speedway started off with one caution for a crash, all other for tire issues and engine issues, which actually made the racing extremely good. It was a few miles race at the end, so you didn't really know what to expect. This is going to be a trend that continues on throughout the Gen 4 period, is that the fuel mileage was a big factor. And Jeff Gordon won. There was 10 DNFs, and then the average green flag run was 45 laps, which is basically right up on the fuel window. So, that is that for the 1997 California 500. But, going right back into it, there's the 1998 California 500 presented by Napa. This race is on ESPN. It's the 10th race after Talladega. Rusty Wallace led the points entering the weekend. And there's also quite a few DQs. First off, you have Dave Marcis in Realtree Camouflage. Rich Bickle in the Thorn Apple Valley car. Tony Raines in the Yellow Freight and Rohrig Motorsports car, as well as Hutch Stricken. First wreck was the 98. Actually had an extremely hard hit. Shouldn't say extremely. First wreck of the event. First wreck was 98. Hit, getting involved caused the first caution. Later in the race, Michael Waltrip had a pit crew member fall over the wall. And this race was also the last top 5 for Dale Waltrip. Later in the race, the 90 blew tire and spun in the middle of the fuel cycle. On lap 45, split the fuel cycle quite a bit. The 30 also spun in turn 2 right after the restart. Then later in the race, the 50 also blew a tire and spun on lap 214. This did not make it a fuel mileage race. To end it, it was actually a fuel mileage race 2 in the middle when the 90 spun out in the middle of the fuel cycle. 23 turns, the 41 out of 4, and it also involved a lot more cars. That was a 7 vehicle incident. And Mark Martin had his first win at California Speedway, and there was also 10 DNFs yet again, with an average green flag run of 30 laps, so not nearly as fuel mileage based, but there was fuel mileage parts of the race. And Rusty Wallace engine expired in the last couple of laps. He dropped down to 4th in points, and Jerry Mayfield took over the points lead. You'll hear his name quite often. Entering into the 1997 California 500, presented by Napa, Jeff Burton was leading the points. It was also the 10th race after Talladega. There was no qualifying because rain. And again, there was quite a few DQs with Hutch Strickland in the Lucas Oil Products car, Buckshot Jones in the Crown Fiber car, Butch Gillen's Ralph Foods for Less in Coca-Cola car, and Boris Head's Federated Auto Parts car. The race is aired on NBC, and there was actually not much notable other than Johnny Benson spinning on lap 3, turn 3. Jeff Gordon ended up winning with an average flag run of 37.8 laps. It wasn't a very notable race. It wasn't boring. It was just kind of average, in my opinion. 2000 was the Napa Auto Parts 500 first name change of the track's history for sponsors of the weekend. It was aired on ABC. It was the 10th race after Talladega. And Mark Martin was entering the points into California with Mike Skinner in the pole. DQs were Dave Marcis in the Tree Realty car. There was 9 different winners up to that point in the season, which is fairly notable. Mayfield had an oil overheating issue throughout the race, and about lap 210, he started having issues with the cabin overheating. That's at least when the broadcast started picking up on it. Mayfield needed ice for the second to last pit stop, and the caution coming out late. There's a 4-lap shootout to end it. Mayfield in the mission box failed during the restart, but he also won. So, I mean, it's pretty notable actually. I think it's incredible how he wins after having all the overheating issues for the last 40 laps, especially with the restart. Makes it easier for someone else just to sweep on in. But Brian Lamonte led the points, exiting with Mark Martin falling to 2nd position. Average run was about 38 laps, so wasn't really a fuel run for most runs, but it was just enough to kind of make it exciting. Alright. The 2001 Napa Auto Parts 500 was aired on Fox. It was the first race at California Speedway without Dale Sr. And this race actually ran on what would have been his 50th birthday. It was the 10th race after Talladega. Dale Jarrett led the points entering the weekend. And actually there were some notable rumors entering the weekend. Bobby Labonte had one that claimed that he was dead after qualifying. And people who were actually close to him found out from the rumor, and they actually didn't know if it was true or not. And he also won the pole, so that rumor kind of didn't work out. But this is also very extremely close to when Earnhardt Sr. had his tragic wreck on turn 4 of Daytona during the 500. So I could see how the rumors could actually be very effective at the time. But Dean Hughes was the Kevin LePage Kodiak car, Buckshot Jones Georgia Pacific car, Shauna Robinson's Aaron car, and on lap 3 they honored Dale Sr. Lap 16, Jimmy Spencer had debris on the grill. He was also a leader at the time. And Harvick stopped working about 138 to go. And Ty Bodine lost a tire with 48 to go. On lap 255, Warburton and Mark Byrne had a hard crash in turn 3. And Byrne had the wind knocked out of him. Again, this was only 9 weeks after Senior's crash. It was also a very hard hit for Burton. Rusty Wallace won the race. He did a victory lap. Rusty Wallace wins, and he did a victory lap with the Dale Earnhardt flag. And the average flag run was about 31 laps. So it's on a downward trend. The 2002 Napa Auto Parts 500 was aired on Fox. It was also the race after Talladega. Sterling Martin entered the California Speedway weekend, leading the points. The DQs were Brendan Gaughan in the Napa Auto Dodge, Chad Little Staff America Chevy, the Hermes Sadler Little Trees Chevy, with the pole winner being Ryan Newman. Ken Schrader had an engine issue in lap 4. Sean Robertson spun in lap 17. Jeremy Midfield had an engine issue lap 189. And he came back out and installed the track on 95. Kevin Harvick tried to enter the pits in lap 230. And Earnhardt Jr. tried to avoid him, but got turned into the wall. Earnhardt had a very hard hit to the outside wall, and the medical team really didn't roll out all that fast. Part of the issues back then. He had to race to the caution flag, and Earnhardt was also near the racing surface, so the medical officials couldn't get back to him for what seemed like forever. With Earnhardt in pain, it also was one of the reasons why the rule was changed in 2003. It was kind of a bad rule anyways, but I could see why they wanted to do it. It's what they did for years, but they also had 2 or 3 very notable incidents that year or two after 2001 that really made the change happen. But Jimmy Johnson had his first win, and the average green flag run was 37 laps. The 2003 Auto Club 500 was race 10 after Martinsville. Matt Kenseth entered leading the points, and DQs were Hiro Fukuyama in the Kirkleman Ford, Kerry Earnhardt Supercut Chevy. Actually, there's only 2 DQs. Pole winner was also Steve Park. Now, someone who wasn't around during that era. I actually had to look up who Steve Park was. I didn't know about him, but it wouldn't last for long because Steve Park and Ryan Newman made contact in lap 1 on the back straight, and that caused a crash. With about 122 laps to go, Tony Stewart blew up. He was doing it very well throughout the race, and with about 30 to go, Jerry Nedehu spun. This again, so that wasn't really a few miles race at the end, but Dale Jarrett spun lap 2 and collected Johnny Benson Jr., Jeremy Mayfield, Larry Foyt, Robbie Gordon, Joe Nemechek, and Casey Mears. So it was really the only big accident during the race. Kurt Busch won with an average green flag run of 30 laps. The 2004 Auto Club 500 was the 10th race after Talladega. It was aired on Fox. Earnhardt Jr. led the points entering the weekend. And after qualifying, Johnny Benson Jr. was replaced with Joe Ruttman. preliminary results of Casey Kane. Really, the only few notable things about this race was that Stanton Barrett spun off turn 2 and hit the outside wall. Morgan Shepherd spun off of 4 and ended up hitting Rusty Wallace. And fuel mileage was also the biggest factor of ending it, with actually a good portion of lead lappers running out of fuel in the last lap or two. 2004 will go on to be the first season with 2 events during the year at California Speedway. It was the second race was the 2004 Pop Secret 500. It was the 25th race after Bristol. Jeff Gordon was leading the points entering the weekend, and there was actually multiple did not qualifies. Kevin LePage in the Woodward Dodge, Henry Sadler in the Score Motorsports Chevy, Mike Wallace in the Gary Keller Racing car, Morgan Shepherd racing with Jesus and the Redline Oil Dodge, Kirk Shermadine in the Freddie B. Ford. There's also multiple duels. Joe Redman in the Michael C. Gaming and Resorts Dodge, Damon Lutz in the SWAT Fitness Club Chevy, Tony Raines in the Broadway Motors Ford, Steve Grissom in the Global Industrial Contractors Chevy. Pole winner was Brian Vickers. And on lap 33, Joey Gioli spun and collected Brendan Gaughan. This would also go on to be the first Cup race under the lights, with all the second weekend events up to then the Gen 4 period being under the lights for the second race of the year. Kurt Busch won off lap 2 on lap 178. Jeff Gordon blew up with about 44 to go. Dale Earnhardt Jr. spun with about 31 to go. And Kyle Petty blew up with 27 to go. They all weren't very notable, but it did affect the race in some way or another. Elliott Sadler won, and Jimmy Johnson took over the points lead. And this race had an average green flag run of 16.6 laps. The 2005 Auto Club 500 was also aired on Fox, the second race after Daytona. The weekend got moved to the second race this season after 2004. Jeff Gordon entered lead in the points because of Daytona, and there wasn't really much of a lead, but the lead did still exist. DQs were Stan Barrett, Front Row Motorsports Chevy, Henry Sadler and Peak Fitness Ford, Stan Boyd's Conley Racing Chevy, Eric McClure's ARCD Hooker Joint RFA.com Chevy. Kirk Shelmerdine in the Freddie Beats Ford also did not qualify. There were Subaru Jewels, the Warren Shepherd Victory in Jesus, and the Redline Dodge Oil Dodge. Kyle Busch had his first pole. Kyle Busch also led his first lap at California Speedway 2005. One thing I did notice throughout the race was Fox having some fun with the race updates. One example was Elliott in love with the wall when Elliott hit the wall. Casey Kane got loose in turn 2 and hit the wall on lap 160. Greg Biffle went on to Greg Biffle went on the win, and Ken Schrader had the most green flag passes. Actually, I don't think the broadcast mentioned Ken Schrader once, and Ryan Newman was passed the most under green, for an average of about 9 passes per lap. The 2005 Sony HD 500 was less than a week after the deadly Hurricane Katrina, and throughout the race there was constant ads supporting the Red Cross saying, hey, here's a phone call to donate, which is quite interesting. But the race was on NBC. It was 25 race after Bristol. Twister entered leading the points, with the DQs being John Andretti's Lucas and Wide Open Energy Drink Chevy, PJ Jones in the Pros.com Chevy. John Wood in the Motorcraft Genuine Parts Ford. Carl Edwards won his first pole. And J.J. Ely got loose in lap 1, turn 4, backs into the wall. Later, Carl Edwards lost to left rear tire in lap 47 in turn 3. He ended up spinning. Kurt Busch got loose in turn 4 and spun into the grass on lap 144. Mike Bliss got loose off turn 2 on lap 165. With 4 to go, Sterling Martin gets tight and spins Scott Riggs and also ends up collecting Bobby Gordon. This up the first green white checker in California Speedway's history, and Kikawa went on to become the youngest Cup winner until Joey Logano won in 2009. The extra race distance ended up becoming 508 miles. The average green flag run was about 17.6. There's about 11 passes per lap. The 2006 Auto 500 was aired on Fox. It was second race after Daytona 500, and Jimmie Johnson was leading the points entering the weekend. One big notable storyline entering the weekend was that teams wanted to use the Dodge Intrepid rather than the Dodge Charger body, as the Dodge teams believed that it was more aerodynamic, and it was allowed since it was less than 3 years old. The DNQs was Travis Capel in the Tide Chevy, Larry Sadler's Aaron Stream Machine Ford, Derek Cope's My Guardian 911 Dodge, Randy LaJoy Frontward Motorsports Dodge, and the Morgan Shepherd Victory in Jesus and Dodge Quality Stone Dodge. Jimmy Spencer's unsponsored Dodge withdrew, with the pole winner being Kurt Busch. There's not much notable in the race other than 5 cautions for debris. There was one spin at the end that set the green white checkered, with Matt Kenseth winning. The average green flag run was 28 laps. So, 2006 Sony Cheese 500. It was aired on NBC. It was 25 first after Bristol. Jimmie Johnson led the points by 7. A couple DNQs was the Todd Cliver 3M Post-it Ford, Curtis Davis Oak Glove Company's Chevy, Chad Chaflin's Oak Gloves and NBC Sweets Dodge, and the Bill Lester Waste Management Dodge. Kurt Busch won the pole, and there was also 4 debris cautions in this race. Elliott Sadler got turned on pit road on lap 84. Bleed source to try to stretch the fuel mileage, remain out from the lead about 2 to go. And Casey Kelly led 130 laps and won. Average green flag was 28 laps with 25 passes per lap. And Greg Buffalo had 120 passes, with Scott Riggs having 150 times passed. And fuel mileage in this race also kind of saved it from being the worst in this era, but it still put behind the race prior. And Matt Kenseth led the points after the race weekend. The 2007 Auto Club 500 was aired on Fox. It was the second race after the Daytona 500. Kevin Harvick entered leading the points, with the denied qualifiers being Michael Waltrip's Napa Auto Parts Toyota, Wardburn's State Water Heater Chevy, Drew Mayfield's 360 OTC Toyota, A.J. Allendainer's Red Bull Toyota, Brandon Witt's Dutch Quality Stones Chevy, Mike Bliss's ZoneLoans.com Chevy, Mike Bliss ZoneLoans.com Dodge, and the Kenny Wallace Furniture Road Racing Chevy, and the Kevin LePage from Motorsports Dodge. Withdrawals were Scott Winter Holiday Zinn's Chevy, Regan Smith's Junior Resorts Chevy, and the Derek Hope McGlynn Racing Dodge. Martin Truex Jr. won the pole. On lap 7, Scott Riggs got loose and corrected being Sorensen and Jimmy Murray. And the race started with 3 cautions and 24 laps, with one also not being very notable. The ceremony spun on lap 54. and David Rudman got spun with 9 to go, and that destroyed his car. And Metcalf led 133 laps and won and completed the weekend sweep. The average green flag run was 21 laps with 14 passes a lap. Robbie Gordon had the most passes with 116. Paul Menard was passed the most on the green with 103. And Mark Martin left leading by 5 points over Jeff. The last race under the Gen 4 era was the 2007 Sharp Equus 500. It was aired on ESPN. It was a 25th race after Bristol. Jeff Gordon entered leading the points. It was Kyle Petty's first race after breaking his hand. He was out for a couple of weeks, returned for Auckland. Tonight qualifiers were Scott Briggs, Sears Auto Center, Valvoline, and Stanley Dodge. Warburn's Lucas Oil and State Water Heater Chevy. And it was actually his second in a row at California Speedway. And Dale Jarrett's UPS Toyota. Kurt Busch won the pole. The temperature was almost 100 degrees at the start of the race. And Michael Waltrip crashed on lap 39. He had a absolutely massive hit. During the race, the broadcast missed 2 restarts during ad breaks. I know how ads are become much more of a contested issue nowadays, so I figured I'd add that in. Ricky Road was injured on a lap 170. Ricky Road was injured on a lap 180 crash caused by Jeff Gordon hitting Jeremy Mayfield. The next thing to go, the broadcast said Jaime E. Johnson. And Jimmy Johnson won after losing the pole by just about 1,000th of a second. The average green flag run was about 17 laps, and Davey Reagan had the most green flag passes with 148 times, but was also passed the most with 150 times. Race time per minute of ads. I decided to do this little graph here that you can see now. The 3 races that the ads were available to me. As you can see, there was a positive trend with ads. The x-axis is the race. The y-axis is the race time per minute of ad in minutes. So per race, there's a positive trend of about 0.172 more minutes each race, with the y-intercept being that they'll start with 2 minutes and 53 laps of green flag racing before a lap of ads. This is something different I came up with. Obviously, with more races, it'll become more effective, but that is what ends the first video for the Auto Club Speedway history. So next will be the Car of Tomorrow era, then the Gen 6 era, then also included the next gen era, the Gen 6 era, since there's only been 2 races, as well as then they'll go into Xfinity Trucks, Kart, IRL. Yeah. So, thank you all for watching. Until next time, you all have a good one.